Going live, going live. Click this button. Okay, I'm live. Hello, everybody. Welcome to my channel. My name is Kristen Brown, and I help people reclaim their personal power. I'm also a spiritual and empowerment coach. I am highly intuitive, and many of my one-on-one sessions have to do with me channeling spirit. And so I can bring the most powerful verbiage and I can really laser tune in on what it is that my person before me is working on. Like I have this ability where I can I can feel things that other people can't feel for the most part, and I can sense where we need to really dive in order to bring that person through the struggle that they are in so that they can move forward in their life in the most powerful way. And I love being excuse me, I love being here with you all. And today I want to talk to you about something that I had another experience with in my life because it appears that this is a repeating theme in my life. And anytime I have a repeating thing, I know that that is an opportunity for me to get on and to share with you all something that maybe I'm going through so that it can help you as well. Because there's a lot of power in story. There's a lot of inspiration in story. And I'm not someone that hides from my life. I don't hide it from you. I share everything I am, and I'm super honest with myself. I'm vulnerable. I call it raw and real. It's just raw and real. You get what you get when you meet me. And I feel like that really helps other people to really wake up and tap into things that are going on within themselves because when they realize they're not alone, that really helps. It really helps us when we realize we're not alone. So, as a coach, one of the questions I ask on my client intake form is, do you believe in a higher power? And if so, what do you call that higher power? And I will tell you that it has probably been a good 99% of the people do believe in a higher power. They sometimes don't like certain words that to call that higher power, and that's completely understandable because we all have past histories and stories and programmings and things that have happened into our in our lives. And so a lot of times people aren't comfortable with certain words. But like I said, I'll say, do you believe in it? And then I'll say, and if so, what do you call your higher power? And the thing is, I'm not attached to what anybody calls their higher power. They could call it a coffee cup, they could call it a tree, they could call it a pen. I don't really care because we are spiritual beings. And because we are spiritual beings, we know we have this connection, but many times this connection is clouded over based on things that have happened in our life. Maybe we got lambasted with too much junk, too much drama, too much trauma, those type of things, and then we end up getting really small and constricted, and we're just trying to control everything that is happening around us because we're so afraid. And we just pop back into control mode, which is very, very common. This is humans we're talking about. We're all human beings here. We're spirit in an earth suit, okay? We are spirit. We are God, source, universe inside of a body. We are souls inside of a physical structure that has a brain and a thinker and an ego and fear, and it has a nervous system. So all those things combined, if we move away from our source, it doesn't mean that there's something wrong with us because we're human beings and we're doing the best we can. And this is me and my story. I mean, I'm a person that I would say honestly that I'm very connected to my source. I'm very connected to God, and then there's times that I'm not. There's times that I kind of float away because I feel like I have to move the chess pieces in my life. I need to control some way. I need to how my way through life, which means I have to come up with an answer and then I have to do that thing and then that's going to get me the results. But oftentimes it doesn't get me the results because my brain is still thinking the same way that it has always thought about certain things. And if that thinking was going to yield me the results that I wanted, then I would have gotten the outcome that I wanted. But since that didn't happen, then many times we just keep ourselves on loop, on repeat, keep doing that same thing, hoping that we're going to get something different, and then it doesn't happen. And then we're frustrated. Then we don't believe that there's this higher power. We don't believe in energy. We don't believe, and we just kind of crash and burn. Now, that's not always the case for every single person. And I'm definitely not here to ever speak for any of you because we're all so incredibly different. But what I do want to share with you is my personal path, my personal journey with God, source, universe, that these days I've been calling Godiverse, because that's my word. I also like the words divine source. That those words seem to resonate within me. But I will tell you something. In my first book, From Doormat to Sweet Empowerment, all throughout the books, I was calling this higher power, which I'm not even sure I like the word higher power. I was calling this energy all kinds of things. And I said it in my preface. I said, I'm going to change names throughout this book. And now at this stage, 10, 12, I wrote that published in 2014. So now it's 2023, 9 years later. I'm still kind of doing that same thing. And I like Godiverse. I'm okay with the word God. It's a very charged word for a lot of people. So the first thing that I want to say to you is that anything that I am calling this higher power, do not attach to. You need to form what sounds good for you. Because like I said earlier, a lot of words have a charged meaning to them because some people have been through religious abuse. And when we talk about religion, it's important to understand that religion is a man-made thing, okay? And many times people were brought up through this where they have to think a certain way, act a certain way, and believe a certain way, or that means you're not holy or you're not godly or what have you. And the words God was used, the word Jesus was used a lot, prayer, sin. A lot of these words can have um, a charge to them, which makes people extremely uncomfortable. When I wrote my first book, From Doormat to Sweet Empowerment, I didn't like the word prayer because that had a charge to it. So I called it talking to God. But it works either way. It doesn't really matter because when we are communicating with our source, source doesn't need to know the words because source understands the feeling and the energy. So yes, it understands the words too, but it's not super hung up and concerned about what words you are using. Excuse me, or the context of the way you are using that words. Okay. Source, God, universe, divinity doesn't work that way because it's all about energy. So don't get yourself all caught up that when you are talking to God, you're having a relationship with God, that you are not using the right words because it's not a thing. It's not a thing. So I want to back up to the beginning where when I was very, very young, I spent a lot of time alone, riding my bike, playing with my kittens, my cats, being outside, doing things. And because I didn't like being alone. It wasn't that I didn't like it, but I wanted a companion. So I started talking to God as my companion. And you'll often hear me say in many, many talks that God is my best friend, that I referred to God as my best friend when I was young. I didn't call it that at the time, but I realized that that was my go-to, was what I was comfortable calling God at that time. Like I said, my awareness has expanded since then. And so now I realize than what I thought as a little girl, but I still, when I was very, very, very young, what happened is that hi, Gerald. What happens is that I got to a place where I was so trusting of this energy because things that I would say would happen. Or I started to get really in touch with the way it felt when this power communicated with me. And I will be honest with you, it saved me from lots of things. It has saved me from when I was 10 years old being in the proximity of a pedophile. And I don't say that lightly because he was a pedophile. And I was 10, so I didn't have the words around it, never heard the word pedophile. We just back in the day in the 70s, back then, there wasn't a lot of words like this. My parents weren't talking about these things. And I just knew I didn't like him. But what it boiled down to was I didn't like his energy. I just didn't like the way this man felt. But on the surface, he was saying all the right things. But I truly believe it's because I started to form a relationship with God way back when I was younger. And I learned over time to really trust those nudges that came through, those messages that came through. And I started to trust the way they felt, because this is an operative thing here, is when you can learn to trust the way that this energy feels to you, then you're going to be more apt to listen to it. Okay. So it's kind of works both ways. You have to clear the space for the messages to come in, but then you also have to get well versed on how it feels for you. And this is a big topic for a lot of people, but I want to keep moving on because that's not what this one's about. So as I move forward in life recently, I would say, I don't know, I don't even know. I couldn't give you a time frame. I'm going to say 6 months or so. I felt like I have been howling my way through life, like really trying to do things like I mentioned about 5, 10 minutes ago, about really trying to do things in a certain way so that I could get a certain result. But I've learned that if I'm not getting the result that I want by doing the thing the way I'm supposed to be, or I think I'm supposed to be doing the thing, then that's not the way. But I don't yet have the way. So we can get ourselves into a very frustrated place because we're like, I've been trying to do this thing and it's not working. And I keep, it's still not working. And in those moments when that happens, what I've realized is that that's our opportunity to understand that we are one brain. We are one teeny tiny little human brain. Okay. If our human body is a speck of dust in the universe, excuse me, you guys, can you imagine what our brain is? It's even smaller than that speck of dust in the universe. Okay, so we are in essence very, very small, and our brain is a programmed thing. Like it, yes, it comes with certain built-in things, but it is programmed, and it's programmed through our experiences of life. So we gain knowledge, we gain information, we talk to people, we watch things. Our brain forms ideas. It forms what do you call it? What's the word I'm looking for? It forms opinions about why certain things happen in our life. And some of those things are true and correct, and some of those things aren't. Okay, some of those things are not. They're just programming. They're from trauma and drama and all kinds of other things. Or it's just the way we decided that it works. Does that make sense to everybody? If it does, comment down below over here. So, with that being said, recently I found myself in that place again where I was like trying to do the things that I think I'm supposed to be doing. And I was getting very, very frustrated. And I'm like, what the hell? I'm such a spiritual person. I'm so open. I'm so loving, all the groovy things, right? And I was not getting the results that I wanted in certain situations. Then I started reading a Marianne Williamson's book. And for most of you, you might know, wait, I'm going to take a sip of my tea. Most of you might know that I'm a huge not law of attraction, a Course in Miracles fan, because the teachings of A Course in Miracles delivered to me through Marianne Williamson in all of her books and her lectures and things like that have really changed the peace in my life. It really promoted a lot of peace. In fact, A Course in Miracles is published by the Foundation of Inner Peace. That's the whole purpose of A Course in Miracles, is to help you return to your inner peace. And I wasn't in a very peaceful place. So I decided to read this book by Marianne Williamson called The Law of Divine Compensation. It's a very, very small book. You can't really tell probably, but it's a very, very small book. And it has even big margins. Okay. Because what she's talking about in this book is to really help us be successful, but doing it through the spiritual way. But that's not what I'm here to talk to you guys about. I want to share with you this one prayer. It's tiny. This one prayer had so much impact on me. I was like, I'll tell you afterwards. So here's what it is. It's like 3 sentences. Dear God, I give this time of quiet to you. Please dissolve my thoughts of stress and fear and deliver me to the inner place where all is peace and love. Amen. The first sentence is what got me. I give this time of quiet to you. Most of you who have followed me for quite some time know that back in 2009-10, I went through a life event that I called my tsunami. It was the time of it was so much upset, so much fear, so much unknown, all the things. It promoted a dark night of the soul, which later turned into a spiritual awakening, which I am still continuing to awaken from. Okay, because this is how awakenings work. They're not one and done, unfortunately, y'all, because I kind of thought that innocently. I'm like, yay, I figured this all out. And then life went on and I didn't have it all figured out. But when she said, I give this time of quiet to you, I thought, oh gosh, I have not been treating God as if my best friend, like I had when I was little, like I had in 2009 and 10, basically how I had throughout my entire life, because I was always talking to God. I was talking to God when I was walking and when I'm driving in my car, when, I'm going to bed at night. I was always having a conversation with what I'm comfortable calling God. Again, for those of you who have joined now, call it whatever you want. I am not your guru. I'm not your boss of you. You can have any terminology that feels comfortable to you, because a lot of people are certain words have a religious kind of connotation and charge to them, and that doesn't feel good to people. So you call this higher power anything you want. I call it Godiverse. I call it Source Universe, or Source. Divine Source. I call it all kinds of things. The names flip all the time. So with that being said, I decided, I'm like, doggone it, ding! Like, it was like, oh my gosh, I have not been talking to God. And it's kind of interesting that we can do this, because we can get so caught up in life that we forget the practices that work the most for us. Now, a lot of people call talking to God prayer. Prayer is an okay word for me. I'm all right with that prayer now. I wasn't many years ago, didn't like it at all. I was raised in a fear-based religion, so prayer was kind of attached to that religion. And I still feel, to be completely transparent, a little bit funky about that word. It's just, it's okay. I'll use it in everyday life, but it doesn't have that soothing feeling to me that talking to God feels like to me. I'm talking to my best friend. Oh, everybody's here. I'm talking to my best friend. I am talking to this energy that has my back 100% all the time. This is not like a friend that has a mood, okay? Or a friend that now you've hurt their feelings, or they took something personally, or they're being defensive, or whatever it is. This is not like that. This is God. This is the superpower of the universe. This is the quantum field. This is universal intelligence. This is unconditional love. That's all it is. And I was not utilizing God as my best friend. And I realized it. When I tell you guys this just happened, this is like, I'm sorry, I got to clear my throat. This was like 2 days ago. It was literally like 2 days ago. And on my walk this morning, I thought, I really want to get on and talk about this live. So I made some notes in my phone, and like, how do I want to talk about this? How do I want to approach this for you all? So the next thing that I want to share with you is that throw out anything that doesn't feel good to you. Okay? When you think about the universe, if you think God is a judging God universe, okay? Throw it out, because you know that doesn't feel good, right? Throw it out, because remember, God is unconditional love. So that feeling is not true. Okay? You're going to be damned. You're going to be judged. Throw it out. God is unconditional. And it's not only unconditional love, it's unconditional behavior. God does not judge us. Now, this right there could really make some people upset, because you've been raised to think that God does. This energy is unconditionally loving, and that means with you too. Okay? There's a quote in A Course in Miracles that says this: all children of God are special, and no children of God are special. Isn't that beautiful? What that means is that we're all special, but there's not any one of us that are a little bit more special than the other one. We're all created equal. We all have our divine gifts and talents and things that we do, and our personalities and our unique DNA. And God doesn't pick and choose who gets the good stuff in life. Okay? That's up to us. And that's why I wanted to come on today, because my life flows so much more easier and so much more peacefully when I am in connection and communion with God, when I keep that relationship going. So, not last night, but the night before, I went to bed, and because I had read that quote, and I laid, as I'm falling asleep, I just had the most beautiful, open-hearted, lovely conversation with God. And when I fell asleep, I will tell you, because what we go to sleep we will marinate on for the next, okay, let me start that sentence. What we go to sleep thinking about, we're going to marinate on for the next 6, 8, 9 hours that we are asleep. Okay. So that's going to continue to be in our energetic field. I woke up the next day and I was so peaceful. And there had been some things going on in my life that were causing me unpeace. And I was like, wow, I'm so peaceful. And it reminded me, it's like, Kristen, this is how you are when you are in connection with spirit. This is how, see how I called it spirit this time? I change the names all the time. This is how you are when you are connecting with God. All right. And I had to go run some errands. And I remember I was like, I don't really want to go run this errand. And I was going to be alone. I was kind of hoping someone could come with me, but no one could. And I remembered, bring God with you. Talk to God on the whole way there. So what did I do all the way to the beauty supply? I talked to God. Some of you know that I'm a former hairstylist of 30 years, and I was changing my daughter's hair color yesterday, so I needed to go get an additional color. So on the way there, I was just talking to God the whole way. I was talking about things I'm feeling. I was talking about, you know, things that I'm working on or things I need help with and these type of things. And the one thing that I can say for sure that has been true in my life and that I would invite you or encourage you to practice too is I'm willing. Okay. Now I do talk about this. Where's my book? Oh, it's downstairs. Oh no, here it is. Well, The Recovering People Pleaser. You can see it right here too. Where is it? Oh, it's just so weird. Oh, there it is. There it is. That's my book, The Recovering People Pleaser, but I call it a spiritual guide for a reason because I do have spirit and universe, and God and source and energy all wrapped up into this book. Now I forgot what I was going to say with that. Dang it. I hate it when that happens. Oh, I'm willing. So I do talk about this in the book too, that anytime I notice, I recognize something within myself that is yet not healed, I will bring that to God. I am willing to heal XYZ, whatever it might be. I am willing to forgive. I am willing to blah, whatever the thing is. And we can get so caught up in our own lives that we forget to utilize the greatest superpower in the universe that ever was before us and is ever going to be after us. Okay. We forget. I know I forget. And in my first book, I talk about a defining moment in my life where I remembered God. In fact, the name of that subchapter is called Remembering God, something like that. I don't remember exactly. I could look it up. But anywho, my point with this conversation with you is that you have everything that you need inside to heal. Okay. And Dr. Joe Dispenza even says that our brain, get this, our brain has all the chemicals it needs. It has the pharmacy. These are his words, a man who has been studying this stuff for decades and even brought in scientists and all kinds of other means to study this stuff. The brain is a pharmacy and it has all the chemicals that we need to physically heal our body. Okay. But that also means it can heal our emotional body. We have everything we need. We also have this pineal gland that is, if you kind of do a cross section from the top of your head and through here, and when these two lines meet, that's where the pineal gland is inside of the head. And the pineal gland has also been referred to as the third eye. Now, of course, a lot of times people get all freaked out with woo-woo talk like the third eye and crown chakras and all these things. You don't have to call them that. You can call it the pineal gland. Okay. Sometimes this is where Eastern and Western start to mix together, right? And some people I'm comfortable with the third eye. That doesn't bother me. I'm also comfortable with the word chakras, but you can call them energy centers. That's what Dr. Joe Dispenza calls them, energy centers. Okay. So with that being said, we have this inside of us, and this is literally our connection to source. This is how we download the information. It comes through the pineal gland. Okay. So none of us on this earth don't have this. Every single one of us has this connection. So my question to you is, are you utilizing God as your best friend? Now, we can do this in so many different ways. Okay. There's not one way and there's not one size fits all. And again, as a coach, I will constantly tell people, I am not here to tell you what to do. In fact, don't listen to me unless something within your heart center resonates with it. Why? Because that resonation is detecting capital T truth, which means truth of the universe, universal truth. Okay. Lower T truth is usually, Kelly said exactly. Lower T truth is it's typically when you say something like, well, this is my truth. Like, this is what I'm experiencing. This is how I feel. This is my opinion. That's lower T truth. That's of our truth. Okay. But capital T truth is unchanging. It's kind of like when you read spiritual literature and it's talking about the universe or God, and it always have the first letter capitalized, like God capitalized or universe capitalized or whatever. It's because it's talking about this universal truth. So much of my healing journey, believe it or not, is because I didn't go to therapy and I did not go to a counselor and I didn't even know about coaches back then. Okay. Much of my spiritual journey was God guiding me. God guided me. I would just have these quiet moments where I would be asking a question of God and an answer would come into my head, or another question that would spark more questions, or I'm sorry, more answers from me. Okay. So a lot of what I did was I would read spiritual literature. Okay. Now I'm not talking it was the Bible. I'm not talking all these, things. I'm talking it was the Tao Te Ching. It was Buddhism. I didn't mind Christianity talk. It was just all kinds of things. But anytime I heard something or read something that felt truthful, I adopted it. That's going to be my new truth. And I started to act from that space. So let's say I'm trying to come up with something. Let's just say right there, all children of God are special and no children of God are special. That made sense to me. That resonated in my heart, and I adopted that as my truth. No longer do I think that I'm better than someone else or somebody else is better than me, because it doesn't feel right anymore. Because now I have a new truth that took that space. I got to watch the clock, you guys. I have a client here in like 7 minutes. So I'm going to have to jump off. All right. So when I am feeling lost, when I'm feeling like floundering, just don't know what direction to take next. And this could be in any type of situation in my life. It could be a relationship, could be career, it could be anything. Just don't know which direction to go. I'm feeling lost. I'm feeling confused. I'm maybe feeling lack of motivation, any of these, maybe even depressed, because sometimes I can get depressed about things or have myself a little, a proper pity party. Okay. When these things happen, I will ask myself, I'm like, how's my relationship with God been? Every single time, without fail, 100% across the board, it's been shit. I have not been doing my spiritual practices every single time. In fact, I have told people if I go to a person that for my problem, if I'm like having a problem and I want to go vent to somebody or say, this is what I'm feeling. I will tell people in my life that speak this type of language, I'm like, talk spirituality to me, talk God to me, talk law of attraction to me, talk these type of things to me, and that will snap me out of my funk so fast. Because as human beings, we forget we're juggling a lot of shit, you guys. We're juggling a lot in our life and a lot of things that have to do with the material plane. Okay. It could be a sick loved one. It could be a job problem. It could be a money issue. It could be a pet that's not acting right. It could be a child. It could be, there's millions of things. We don't like our weight. There could be a millions of things that are going on in our life. We're juggling a lot and we're forgetting to connect, literally to plug into source. Marianne Williams says something like that, like the universe is the energy turned on full blast. It's turned on full blast and we are the lamp, and we forget to plug into the light source. And I've done this periodically throughout my life. I feel my best and I do my best when I stay plugged in. So I have decided that this is what I'm going to do from this point forward is I've played around too much in the, well, let me just do and let me just get after it and, make things happen. I've played too much around with that. It's never worked out for me. But what has worked out for me the best is when I plug into source and I let go, because I will tell you without fail that the answers come, and they don't often come in the way that my brain said that I should do things. Many times it's an up leveling in myself. It's an up leveling for me. So let's say I have been dealing with somebody that, just their behavior is atrocious. And however I've been dealing with them is not helping things. It's not getting any better. And I'll say, God, what do I do? And then somehow, some way I'll receive the message that says, stop trying to convince them. Okay. But I want to convince them because I think I know. And if I tell them, then they're going to get it. And God's like, no. So guess what I do? I'm like, all right, done convincing people. And guess what happens? The relationship shifts. I mean, it's mind blowing. We have universal intelligence at our fingertips, and yet we forget. So once again, this conversation today is not ever, 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 ever to shame anybody, because I'm not about shame. Shame does nothing. Okay. Unless you make a mistake, and that healthy shame will say you did something wrong and then you can go make amends. I always have to put that disclaimer in because there is healthy shame. It's like, oh, I'm embarrassed. I did that hideous thing that I did. But just to shame yourself because you're doing the best you can in life is no bueno. That doesn't help you. It doesn't help anybody. Okay. So when I make mistakes in life, I have now trained my brain to the point where I don't even go to shame. Shame's not even something that pops up. And if it does, that I'm like, wow. Okay. Because I realize that it really is something that I did that I should be ashamed of. Right. But shame for the sake of shaming doesn't help anybody. It's not going to help you. So the purpose of this today is to invite you, to encourage you, to see if this resonates with you, and to ask yourself, how's my relationship with God, source, universe, divine source, superpower, universal intelligence? How's my relationship with the quantum field for all you science heads out there? Okay. How is my relationship? Am I connecting? Am I talking to? And I got to go, but am I clearing space? Oh, hi, Daryl. Am I clearing space to receive the messages? Because that's one of the most important things is that we have to clear space so that we can receive. I call it providing a landing strip. And we do that through clearing our brain, through meditation, and through just presence. To be honest with y'all, if you're super, super stressed, meditation will help you. But really, if you just get really super present with what you're doing, you are going to be surprised because you're not in the past, you're not in the future, you're not in the thinking, planning, strategizing brain. You're going to be surprised at what comes in because you have created the platform, the landing strip for God, source, universe to communicate with you. And I literally have to go because I have 1 minute before my client. So I just want to read in the words of my favorite singers, Bonnie Raitt, love in the nick of time. Love that. Thank you, Kelly. Thank you, Daryl. Thank you, Stryker. Thank you, Gerald. Everybody else who has joined today, anybody else who's in here doesn't tell me who's exactly present right now, but I love you all. Thank you for listening. Talk to me. Leave in comments below how your relationship with God is and give me like 2 thumbs up if you have been inspired to like reform that best friend connection with your superpower. Okay. Mwah. Much love, everybody. Bye.